his fingers wrapped around my wrist, leading me down the hall behind me. Another set of hands traced my waist, teasing possessive. The bedroom door swung open. No hesitation, no second thoughts. I stepped inside, ready for everything. Before we begin, please take a quick moment to like and subscribe. And if you can watch as long as possible, staying until the end helps YouTube recommend these stories to even more people, helping the channel grow and bringing you even more content. Now let's get started. I woke up gasping, body tense, heat pulling low in my stomach. My fingers clenched the sheets, thighs pressing together, desperate for something that wasn't there. But in my dream, he was strong. Hands pinning me down, hot breath teasing my ear. A firm body pressing into mine. My body still tingled where I had felt him, too vivid, too real. Then I heard it, a low groan from the next room. A quiet creak of bed springs. A rustle of movement. I froze him. My heartbeat pounded as I turned onto my side, staring at the thin wall separating us. My tenant, the young man sleeping just a few feet away. Was he dreaming, too restless for the same reason I was? The shame was quick curling hot in my stomach, but I didn't push it away. I should have ignored it, buried my face in the pillow, forced my mind somewhere else instead. I closed my eyes, silence. Then another shift, a low exhale. A murmur. I swallowed hard. Heat rising to my cheeks. I used to be desired like that. When my body was firm, when men couldn't keep their hands off me, I knew how to make them want me. But that was a long time ago. Now I was just a widow in her 60s alone. Desperate enough to let a stranger into my home. And maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the only one thinking about it. In the morning, the smell of coffee filled the kitchen as I poured myself a cup, trying to shake off the heat still lingering in my body. I shouldn't be feeling like this. Not over him, but then he walked in shirtless. Drops of water clung to his skin. His towel slung over one shoulder. His muscles flexed as he ran a hand through damp hair, shaking off the last of his shower. Young firm? Too tempting. I sipped my coffee, watching as he yawned and stretched, completely unaware of what he was doing to me. Morning, he said, flashing that boyish grin. I let my gaze linger well. Aren't you a sight first thing in the morning? He chuckled, reaching for the fridge. You're just saying that because you haven't had to look in the mirror yet. I smirked. Oh, honey, I may be older, but trust me, I still know how to turn heads. He laughed, shaking his head. That I don't doubt it was an innocent compliment. One he probably didn't think twice about. But the way he said it, so casual, so unbothered, only made the ache inside me worse. I leaned against the counter. So do you always walk around half naked, or is this just for me? He glanced down at himself, then shrugged. Just a habit. My smirk deepened. Dangerous habit. You never know who might be watching. His brows lifted slightly, but he only grinned, taking a sip of water. Brushing it off, I had expected at least a flustered reaction. A flicker of something, but he wasn't taking the bait. So I took a step closer, reaching for the sugar jar on the counter. I let my arm brush against his just slightly, just enough to feel the warmth of his skin. He stilled just for a second. Not long, not obvious, but long enough. Then he exhaled and stepped back, playfully bumping his shoulder into mine as he turned away. Careful now, you might make me think you're flirting. I smiled over the rim of my coffee cup, and if I was... He glanced at me, amused, I'd say. You've still got it. And just like that, he was gone, walking off with a lazy grin, leaving me alone in the kitchen, flushed, restless and more determined than ever. The late afternoon sun spilled through the windows, casting a golden glow over the room. I stood in front of the mirror, adjusting my blouse, smoothing my hands over my hips. The fabric hugged my curves just right for a woman my age. I still had it, and I wasn't the only one who noticed. His voice cut through the quiet. For someone who says she's old, you sure don't dress like it. I turned to find him in the doorway. Arms crossed, a lazy smirk on his lips. I smirked back, and what does that mean? He shrugged, eyes dragging over me. Slow and deliberate, just saying most women your age start hiding themselves. You still know how to wear it? I took a sip of wine, letting my gaze hold his. Wear what? His grin widened everything. A slow warmth curled in my stomach. You always this charming, I teased. Or is this just for me? He grabbed a water bottle from the counter, twisting the cap off. Hey, I give credit where it's due. You've got younger guys turning their heads. I raised a brow. That's so yeah. He took a sip, then met my eyes. A buddy of mine saw your picture the other day. I leaned against the counter, intrigued. And he didn't believe me when I told him you were my landlady. His eyes gleamed, said you were fire. A slow smile spread across my lips. I like this friend of yours. He likes you too, he said, watching me closely. Wants to meet you. The air between us shifted. I let the silence hang, letting the idea settle. Then set my glass down. Maybe you should invite him for dinner. His expression didn't change, but something flickered in his eyes. Curiosity, maybe even excitement, yeah? I met his gaze steady. Yeah, and just like that, another door had opened. The next evening, I set the table, my hand steady but my pulse anything but. The wine glasses caught the soft glow of the kitchen lights, the scent of roasted garlic and herbs filling the air. It was just dinner, that's what I told myself. But the way my body hummed with anticipation, I knew better when the door opened. My tenant greeted his friend first, laughing, shaking hands, but the moment his friend's eyes met mine, the energy in the room shifted. It wasn't polite, it was hunger. Now I see why he didn't tell me sooner. His friend said, tilting his head slightly. Didn't want to share? I smirked, feeling the thrill ripple through me. And yet here you are, he grinned. Stepping inside dinner was easy. Maybe too easy, the conversation flowed. But beneath the words, something else stirred. Subtle glances teasing smirks. The occasional touch that lingered just a second too long. I reached for my wine, feeling the weight of his friend's gaze. He amused. I can see why he talks about you the way he does. My tenant have to laugh careful. She'll start getting ideas. I raised a brow. Ideas aren't always a bad thing. Silence heavy charged. I set my glass down. I should grab another bottle. I stood, turning toward the kitchen. I didn't have to look to know he followed. I reached for the wine, but before I could turn, his hands found my hips, a sharp inhale caught in my throat. Did you plan this? His voice was low, teasing. I exhaled slowly, letting my body settle against his, feeling the solid warmth of him pressed against my back. And if I did, his fingers tightened slightly. Then I'd say you're even more dangerous than I thought. I turned in his arms, meeting his gaze. And you followed me pretty quickly. He smirked. What can I say? Some things are worth chasing. I let my hand drift up his chest, trailing the fabric of his shirt, feeling the tension beneath it. He was ready for me. I could see it in his eyes, feel it in the way his breath deepened. Tell me, I murmured, my fingers teasing lower when your friend said I was fired. Did you agree? His grip on me tightened. I knew it the second I saw you. I smiled slow and knowing. Then show me. His lips crashed against mine, his hands firm, guiding, taking. I melted into him, my fingers curling into his shirt, tugging him closer, letting the thrill of it take over. His hands slid down my back, gripping me hard, and I gasped softly against his mouth. Then without a word, I sank to my knees. His breath hitched. I looked up at him through my lashes, fingers working his belt open. moving deliberately teasingly. His hands twitched at his sides. His breath uneven. Is this what you were hoping for? I murmured. He exhaled sharply. I was hoping for a lot of things, but this is better. I let out a soft hum of approval before pressing my lips to his skin. Trailing lower, savoring the way his fingers clenched against the counter behind him, his body rigid with anticipation. Then footsteps. We both froze. A low chuckle came from the doorway. My tenant leaned against the frame, arms crossed, smirking. Well, he said, shaking his head. I was wondering when you'd finally make a move. I caught my breath, pulse racing. Lips still tingling, but I didn't pull away. Neither did his friend. Instead, I met my tenant's gaze, tilting my head slightly. Eyes full of invitation. Are you just gonna stand there? I asked, voice steady. Teasing, he exhaled, running a hand through his hair, his smirk deepening. Nah, he murmured. I think I'll join you. The moment we stepped into the bedroom, the tension snapped. There was no more teasing. No more pretending my tenant stood before me. His friend just behind, the weight of their eyes making my skin burn. I turned to my tenant first, my fingers drifting over his chest, feeling the steady rise and fall of his breath. His body was warm, solid beneath my touch, the anticipation thrumming between us. I think it's only fair I get a taste of you too, I murmured, my voice low and playful. His lips parted, but before he could respond, I was already sinking to my knees, my hands working at his belt, slow, deliberate. His muscles tensed under my fingers, his body reacting before his mind caught up. I heard the sharp inhale above me, the unsteady exhale as I took him in, my hands tracing over his skin, letting the moment stretch behind me. His friend chuckled. Guess she couldn't wait. I smirked against my tenant's skin, looking up at him through my lashes. Can you blame me? I let my lips brush over him, savoring the way his breath hitched, his fingers twitching slightly at his sides. He was trying to hold himself still, but I could feel the restraint slipping with every second. I didn't rush, taking my time, letting the warmth of my mouth send a slow, teasing pulse through him. A hand settled on my hip, firm. Confident, the friend. He leaned in, his breath hot against my ear. Let's make this even better. A slow shiver ran through me as he guided me forward, urging me to brace myself against the bed. I obeyed without hesitation, my hands still gripping my tenant's hips as I continued, never breaking rhythm. Then I felt it. A slow, steady pressure, his hands gripping my waist, guiding me, holding me in place. A deep exhale left me as he moved, a deliberate rhythm that sent a shockwave of pleasure through me. My fingers curled into my tenant's thighs, my body rocking between them, completely surrounded, completely taken. My tenant groaned, his fingers threading through my hair, now his own control slipping. You really are something else, he breathed. I hummed in response, letting the vibration travel through him, feeling the way his body tightened beneath my hands. The friend behind me deepened his pace, his grip steady, keeping me exactly where he wanted. The contrast between them, one in my hands, the other taking his pleasure behind me, had my mind spinning, my body lost in the overwhelming sensation. The pace built my own movement, syncing with theirs. Every shift pushing me higher, every deep stroke unraveling me further. I could feel everything, the strength of their bodies, the heat of their skin, the unrelenting rhythm that left me gasping. My tenant's breathing turned ragged, his fingers clenching in my hair as I took him to the edge, savoring the way he trembled beneath me. I knew he was close, the tension coiling tight inside him. His restraint fraying, I let him go, turning onto my back as he settled beneath me, his hands gripping my thighs. Pulling me onto him, I positioned myself over him, sliding down in one slow, fluid motion that stole the breath from both of us. His fingers dug into my hips, holding me there, his jaw tight, His eyes locked onto mine. "Enjoying yourself," he murmured, his voice teasing, strained. I smirked, rolling my hips just enough to make him groan. "What do you think?" The friend moved in behind me again, his hands tracing the curve of my back, his lips brushing against my shoulder. I think he whispered, his voice thick with amusement. "You can take even more slow." Careful shift, a feeling of fullness unlike anything before. I gasped, my fingers clutching at my tenant's shoulders, my entire body alight with sensation. My breath caught as they moved together in sync, surrounding me, overwhelming me in the best way possible. Every movement was precise, controlled, building something deeper, stronger. My tenant's hands moved up my back, steadying me, his lips brushing over my collarbone. The friend's fingers tightened at my waist, guiding me into their rhythm, making me feel everything. The pressure built, every shift pushing me higher. The pleasure curling tight in my core. It was too much and yet not enough. I chased it, rolling my hips, matching their pace, my body on fire between them. The final stretch hit all at once. The tension snapped, pleasure crashing through me, stealing my breath, leaving me weightless. I trembled between them, lost in the intensity, my body gripping them, holding on to the last waves of sensation as they followed. My tenant groaned, his body stiffening beneath me, his hands gripping me tighter, his breath stalling as he lost himself. Behind me, the friend let out a low, breathless curse, his movement stuttering before stilling completely. Silence heavy, thick with satisfaction, and that was all. I lay still between them, my body warm, my breath steady but my mind wide awake. The weight of their touch still lingered, a slow pulse of satisfaction humming through me. I hadn't felt this alive in years. Maybe ever. I traced my fingers lightly over my tenant's chest, my other hand resting where his friend had held me last. I had spent so long believing desire faded with time. That passion was something lost to youth. But tonight had proven me wrong. It was still there, waiting to be awakened. A slow smile curled on my lips. I wasn't just a woman past her prime. I was a woman who had just been thoroughly wanted, taken and satisfied, and now that I had tasted it again, I knew one thing for certain: I wasn't done. Some say age is just a number. Others say there are limits that shouldn't be crossed. What do you think? Would you ever give in to temptation like this? Or is this a line that should never be crossed? Let me know in the comments. I want to hear every perspective. And if you enjoyed this story, please like, subscribe, and turn on notifications by clicking the bell icon. That way you won't miss what's coming next. Thanks for watching.